Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This is a new Planet of the Apes movie that follows the conclusion of the trilogy. Because no franchise ever just has an ending, it always overstays its welcome. I thought War for the Planet of the Apes was a really strong conclusion, and I don't think they needed to go back, and I know a lot of people felt the same way, but after seeing Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I'm kind of glad they did go back. The movie is set many generations after the events of War for the Planet of the Apes, so it acknowledges everything that happened in that trilogy, and then just says, "Hit it, Joe," and goes in a different direction. Which I think is the right call. It's interesting to see how this world has progressed post-Caesar, and Caesar is still present here, but in a symbolic way. His influence is still felt, his teachings are still present, and it's nice to follow the new character, Noah. Caesar was great in this new trilogy. Well, I say new, but now it's almost 15 fucking years old. But you know what I mean. It's been 7 years since the last one. It's not exactly sparkling new here. Time is moving fast. We're all getting old and getting closer to turning to dust. Fucking face your mortality. And this is the grim reminder of that, how long it's been since that movie, because it doesn't feel like it's been that long. I'm going off on a tangent that doesn't matter. Actual just senile ramblings now. Point is, Caesar was fantastic in the trilogy, so Noah had big shoes to fill, and I actually think they do a great job with this character. It's a character that you immediately get behind, and one that I think by the end of the movie is a really strong character, and I'm really excited to see them in the following films, because they are setting this up to be probably another trilogy, and I'm pretty optimistic about it. Anyway, Noah is part of a clan that bonds with eagles. They have eagles that come in and they form an attachment with them, and it plays a central role in their clan. Some shit goes wrong, things go awry, all cattywampus, the whole thing just goes tits up, and his clan ends up being kidnapped by another group of apes that are bad. They're evil. And in that group of evil apes, there is the primary villain, Proximus. And he doesn't actually come into the movie till like over halfway into the film, and yet he is still great. Like, he comes in and immediately steals all of the scenes that he takes part in. He's basically like a cult leader, fundamentally, and he has twisted the teachings of Caesar to be far more aggressive and hostile. So he is basically leading a massive kingdom of apes, and he is so good. He's intimidating. He's ferocious. He fights really well. He also has very deep motivations, which I don't want to get into any spoilers, but just overall, Proximus was a great villain. They did a lot with that character in a very short period of time. Now, back to Noah, because one thing that I think really stands out about Noah as a character is he's very different from pretty much any other protagonist you really see these days, where he never wins a fight, per se. Like, he doesn't win it in the traditional sense where he ends up beating someone in hand-to-hand combat or overpowering someone. They drive this point home. He is very clever. So every time he's in a fight where it's just, straight up him versus someone else in like fisticuffs, they get pugilistic, he gets his shit pushed in. He does not win those. He loses all of those. But when he has time to kind of think things through, he comes up with very creative solutions to beat his opponent. And I just thought that was a very interesting thing to see explored. You don't see that a lot. Typically, the thing that people get behind is like the protagonist that starts weak and gets really strong and, eventually overpowers their enemy. Noah isn't that. Noah is very smart from the very beginning and uses his wits to win his fights. And by the end of the movie, he still isn't any better at like hand-to-hand combat or anything. Not that he's like terrible at it or anything. But what makes him so special is just how smart he is and how adaptive he is. And I just really like that. Noah's just a good character, is what I'm trying to say. This has been very long-winded, but I'm very impressed that they found a character that could match how great Caesar was. Now, the movie is beautiful. Visually, this film is extraordinary. This is one of those movies where they clearly gave the VFX department time, which is the most crucial resource and the thing that VFX departments just don't get anymore. They got time to cook this puppy. They had it in the oven, and they brought us out a wonderful dish. And I am so appreciative of that. In the world of so much bad CGI in the modern age because of deadlines and crunch and just forcing them to pump shit out as quickly as possible, it's so refreshing to see something like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, where you can see that they got to fully realize their vision and their passion and let them do what they do. So I really like that. The visuals are great. The writing is great. Overall, it's a very good movie. But now let me get into a couple of things that I didn't think worked super well. So they established Noah and his two friends have a really good dynamic immediately. Like, it's fun watching Noah and his friends interact with each other. But it's highly underutilized. You get a little of that in the beginning, and then none of it throughout the entire middle, and then you get a lot of it at the end, and it's just really good. I would have liked to see more of that. Like, I would have liked them to work together more than they did, because there is parts of this movie that just straight up drag in the middle, and I think that's because it puts a focus not on his two friends, but instead on two people he meets. A human named May, and another ape named Raka. Now, I think Raka is great. He is a character who teaches Noah about Caesar and what Caesar actually stood for and tried to do, and the importance of Caesar and his teachings, and it's really well done. I think Raka is great. But May, the human, felt like a complete afterthought in this film. Like, every time she was there, she was kind of just flat. She was there to give, like, exposition about, you know, the before times when humans were on top, which is incomprehensible to Noah and apes because they right now all they know about humans is that they're silent and they're not smart. So she's there to just remind them that, you know, actually humans were once very smart, and it's her mission to bring humans back to that glory. And they spend a lot of time with May. And I think she's just the least interesting part about the movie. Like, I'm sure she'll be more interesting in the following films, but here she was just very one-dimensional. She was just one-track minded of, I need to get this certain item for the benefit of humanity because the apes don't deserve the position they have. It belongs to humans, damn it. And, like, that's a fine motivation. She's not like a villain or anything per se, but her motivations don't really line up with Noah's. Which could be a cool dynamic if they butted heads more often, but when they do, it's super ephemeral. So it doesn't really lead to anything other than, like, a couple of brief arguments. So her role in this is just very minimal. It feels like she's here because the production thought that people would bond more with a human character. They could relate more to that as opposed to having it just be the apes. And I think that's not right. Like, I think they should have just stuck with it being all about the apes in this one and maybe hint about May and the humans and, like, what their goal and mission is, what they're doing or whatever. Like, I think it would have just been stronger if May wasn't in this one but was in, like, the following films or only briefly put in here. But she plays a big role in terms of screen time in the film, and I just don't think she was that strong, like, her storyline. She, of course, did do some very important shit at the very end, but I don't know. I really think the parts of this film that drag are the parts that put a focus on her, like, telling Raka and Noah about humanity. Like, I just don't think that was super necessary. But it's not the biggest deal in the world. Like, I don't think it was bad per se. What I do think was just straight up bad, though, is what they do with Raka. And I don't want to get into spoilers, but Raka, I feel, really got shafted in what happened to him in this film that I think they could have done without. Like, it's so hard to tiptoe around this. I like Raka as a character. I don't like what they did with Raka towards, like, the middle to, like, / end of the film. I thought it was pretty not well executed. But anyway, plugging Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and the Moist Meter, I'm going to give it a very cool 80%. I enjoyed it. I think it's a very good movie. It's not an easy thing to do, follow up a trilogy 7 years later, but they do a great job with it. So, yeah, that's really about it. See ya.